The alarm screamed through every corridor of the Odyssey Dawn. Red lights flashed against metal walls as 40,000 people woke from their frozen sleep to chaos. Something had gone very wrong. Captain Elena Vasquez pulled herself from her cryopod, ice still melting on her dark skin. Her muscles burned with the familiar pain of revival, but she forced herself to move. The ship was shaking. That was not supposed to happen. She reached the bridge in 4 minutes. Her crew was already there, staring at the main view screen with pale faces. Elena looked up and felt her heart stop. They were surrounded. Massive ships hung in the void around them. Each one was 10 times larger than the Odyssey Dawn. Their hulls were black and purple, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move like living things. There were at least 30 of them, forming a perfect circle with no escape route. "Where are we?" Elena asked. Her voice was calm. A captain could not show fear. Chief Science Officer Marcus Chun turned to her. His hands were shaking as he held his datapad. "We are not at Proxima Centauri. The forward space jump failed. We went too far. Much too far. How far?" Marcus swallowed hard. "The star charts do not match anything we know. We are somewhere in the center of the galaxy, at least 30,000 light years from Earth." Before Elena could respond, the communication system crackled to life. A voice came through, translated by their computers into flat, mechanical English. But even through the translation, Elena could hear the contempt. "Primitive vessel. You have entered the sovereign space of the Valorian Dominion. You will power down all systems and prepare for processing. You have 7 solar cycles to comply. Resistance will result in your complete destruction." The view screen changed. For the first time, humanity saw the face of its enemy. The Valorian was 8 feet tall. Its body was covered in a hard shell that shimmered between purple and black. It had 4 arms and a head that resembled an insect, with huge compound eyes that showed no motion. Behind it, Elena could see a bridge filled with similar creatures, all moving with the confidence of absolute power. "I am Admiral Zixtorian," the creature said. "You are now property of the Dominion. This is not negotiable." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Elena looked at her crew. These were scientists, engineers, farmers, and teachers. They had left Earth to build a new home among the stars. They were not soldiers. They had no weapons. They had one ship full of sleeping families and farming equipment. "Captain," Marcus said quietly, "I have been scanning their ships, and their weapons are powerful. More powerful than anything we have ever built. But their hulls are strange. They are very thin, almost fragile." Elena frowned. Why would they build powerful ships with weak armor? "I do not know. Perhaps they have not needed strong armor for a very long time. Perhaps no one has challenged them in centuries." Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, the ship's security chief, stepped forward. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Captain, what does processing mean?" Elena had been trying not to think about that word. "I do not know, but I do not think we want to find out." She looked at the alien ships on the view screen. 30 vessels, each one a giant compared to the Odyssey Dawn. Her ship had no weapons. Her people had no training for combat. By every logical measure, they were already dead. But Elena Vasquez had not become a captain by accepting the logical answer. "Marcus, can we run?" "The Valorian ships are faster than us. They would catch us in hours. What about that nebula?" Elena pointed to a swirling cloud of gas and dust at the edge of the view screen. It glowed with strange colors, flickering with electromagnetic energy. Marcus studied his readings. "The Shroud Nebula. Our sensors cannot see through it. The energy storms would damage our systems, but we might survive. Would the Valorians follow us in?" "Unknown. but their ships are larger. The storms might affect them more than us. Yuki stepped closer. Captain, we have mining lasers. They are not weapons, but they cut through rock. They could cut through thin armor. Elena felt something change inside her. It was a cold, hard feeling that settled in her chest. She thought about the 40,000 people sleeping in the holds below. She thought about the children who had never seen Earth's sky. She thought about the word processing. "We run," she said. "Full power to engines. Head for the nebula. They will fire on us," Marcus warned. "Then we fire back. Yuki, activate the mining lasers. All of them." The bridge erupted into motion. Orders flew through the ship. Deep in the engine room, fusion reactors roared to life. On the hull, 12 industrial mining lasers turned toward the alien fleet, the Odyssey. Dawn moved. Admiral Zixthorian watched from his bridge. His compound eyes showed something like amusement. These primitives were running. How foolish. How entertaining. "Disable their engines," he ordered. "Do not destroy them. I want them alive for processing." 2 Valorian cruisers moved forward, their weapons charged, glowing with purple energy dot, and then the humans fired. 12 beams of concentrated cutting light struck the lead cruiser. The mining lasers had been designed to slice through asteroids made of solid iron. They had never been pointed at a living ship before. They worked perfectly. The cruiser's thin armor melted like ice. Atmosphere vented into space. The ship began to spin, out of control. The second cruiser took 6 direct hits before it managed to retreat. Admiral Zixthorian stared at his tactical display. He had commanded the Dominion fleet for 300 years. He had destroyed 1,000 primitive species. None of them had ever drawn Valorian blood dot until now. The Odyssey Dawn vanished into the Shroud Nebula. Behind it, the Valorian fleet hesitated, uncertain for the first time in millennia. On the bridge of her wounded ship, Elena Vasquez allowed herself one small smile. They were not safe. They were lost, alone, and hunted by an empire that ruled the galaxy. But they were alive, and humanity had just taught the Valorians their first lesson. Humans do not surrender. The war had begun. 3 months had passed since the Odyssey Dawn fled into the Shroud Nebula. 3 months of hiding in electromagnetic storms that turned the sky into fire. 3 months of learning to survive in a galaxy that wanted them dead. The colonists had changed. Captain, Elena Vasquez walked through the cargo bay that had once held farming equipment. Now it held something else. Men and women worked at tables covered with alien technology, taking apart captured Valorian devices and learning their secrets. In the corner, a group practiced combat moves with homemade weapons. Children ran between the tables, carrying tools and messages. These were the same people who had left Earth to grow crops on a new world. Now they were becoming warriors. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka found Elena watching them. "The Valorian scout ship entered the nebula 2 hours ago. It is searching for us. How many crew?" "Our scans show 43. The ship is small. It is alone." Elena nodded slowly. For 3 months, they had run and hidden. They had studied and learned. But hiding was not enough. They needed more ships. They needed more weapons. They needed information. "We take it," Elena said. I smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "I will prepare my team." The scout ship moved carefully through the glowing clouds of the nebula. Its commander, a young Valorian named Kethvari, watched his sensors with growing frustration. The humans had to be here somewhere. Admiral Zixthorian was becoming impatient. Finding these primitives had become a matter of Dominion pride. Kethvari did not understand why the Admiral cared so much. They were just humans. Small, soft creatures with short lives and weak bodies. They had gotten lucky once. It would not happen again. A shadow passed over his view screen. What was that? Cathvari demanded. Before his crew could answer, the ship shook. Something had attached to their hull. Then came the sound that would haunt Cathvari for the rest of his life. Dot cutting dot, the humans burned through the hull in 3 places at once. They came through the holes like water through broken glass, wearing suits made from scrap metal and carrying weapons built from mining tools. They did not fight like any species the Dominion had ever encountered. They fought like animals. Yuk Tanaka led the attack. She was small compared to the Valorians, barely reaching their chests. But she moved faster than they could follow. Her weapon was a vibrating blade made from a rock cutter. It sliced through Valorian armor like paper. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, 40 Valorians lay dead or wounded. 3 humans had been killed. The ship belonged to humanity. Cathvari was dragged to the bridge of the Odyssey Dawn. He expected to be killed. Instead, Captain Vasquez sat down across from him and spoke calmly. I have questions. You have answers. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Cathvari stared at her with his compound eyes. You cannot win. The Dominion has ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. We have conquered 1,000 species. You are nothing. Elena leaned forward. And yet your ship is now mine. Tell me about the Dominion. Cathvari was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he began to talk. What he told them changed everything. The Dominion was not one united empire. It was a collection of conquered species held together by fear. The Valorians were the masters, but they ruled through intimidation, not loyalty. Dozens of species served them as slaves and soldiers, but they did so because they believed resistance was impossible. The Marani fish people build our ships, Cathvari said. The Crystalline Collective makes our computers. The Vorathi work in our minds. They obey because they have forgotten how to fight. For 3,000 years, no one has challenged the Dominion. We have not needed real soldiers in generations. Marcus Chun was in the room, recording everything. That explains the thin armor. You have not needed strong defenses because no one attacks you. Exactly. The Dominion wins through power and fear. If a species sees they cannot win, they surrender. No one is foolish enough to fight when they cannot win. Elena smiled. We are. Cathvari looked at her. Something strange flickered in his compound eyes. It might have been respect. Yes, you are. And that is why Admiral Zixthorian is afraid. Afraid? He has failed to destroy you. In Dominion politics, failure is death. He is committing more and more resources to finding you. He is becoming desperate. And the other species are watching. They are seeing the Dominion struggle against primitives with no ships and no weapons. Elena understood. They are starting to hope. Hope is dangerous, Cathvari said. For 12,000 years, the Dominion has crushed hope wherever it appeared. But you cannot crush something that does not die. If the other species begin to believe that the Valorians can be beaten. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. That night, Marcus Chun brought Elena his latest discovery. His team had finally cracked Valorian shield technology. The shields were powerful, but they had a weakness. They are designed to stop energy weapons, Marcus explained. Heat, plasma, radiation. But they cannot handle sustained physical impact. If we hit them with enough solid objects fast enough, the shields overload and fail. No one in the Dominion uses physical weapons. They consider them primitive, uncivilized. Energy weapons are cleaner, more elegant. Marcus laughed softly. They have forgotten that sometimes primitive works. Elena looked at the captured Valorian ship through the viewport. It was ugly, damaged from the boarding action, barely functional. But it was theirs. We are not hiding anymore, she said. We take the fight to them. 1 week later, the Free Human Fleet made its first attack. 2 ships against a Valorian supply convoy. The humans came out of the nebula firing chunks of metal at incredible speeds. The Valorian shields held for exactly 8 seconds before collapsing. When it was over, humanity had captured 4 more ships. Admiral Zixthorian received the report in his command center. His 4 hands trembled with rage. These humans were not just surviving. They were growing. They were learning. They were hunting. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the conquered species of the Dominion began to whisper a new word, hope. 1 year after the Odyssey Dawn stumbled into Valorian space, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her 12th ship. The small fleet floated in the shadow of a dead moon, hiding from Dominion patrols while they planned their next move. But Elena was not thinking about tactics. She was thinking about names. Across the galaxy, her people had earned many names. The Valorians called them the Death World Apes, primitive creatures from a planet so dangerous that only monsters could survive it. The Marani whispered about the ghost fleet that struck from nowhere and vanished before the Dominion could respond. The Vorathi spoke of the Unchained, beings who refused to bow no matter the cost. Elena did not care what anyone called them. She only cared about winning. A message arrived from Marcus Chun on the science vessel. We have decoded the latest Dominion transmissions. The news is both good and bad. Give me the bad first. Admiral Zixthorian has been removed from command. He is probably dead. His replacement is Grand Marshal Velix Thane. She's the most feared military leader in the Dominion. She has never lost a battle. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. And the good news? The Vorathi mining colonies are ready to rebel. They have been watching us for months. They want to join us. 40 ships, Elena. 40 ships filled with workers who are very angry and have nothing left to lose. For a moment, Elena could not speak. 40 ships would triple their fleet. 40 ships meant they could do more than raid and run. They could actually fight. There is one condition, Marcus continued. They want to hear from you directly. They want to know if humans will stand with them or abandon them when things get hard. Elena opened a communication channel that would reach across the stars. She did not know exactly who would hear her words. She only knew that she had to say them. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Free Human Fleet. We did not ask for this war. We came to the stars looking for a new home, not an empire. But the Dominion gave us no choice. They told us to surrender or die. We chose a third option. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. They were tired. They were scared. But they were still fighting. I do not know if we can win. I do not know if any of us will survive. But I know this. Every species that lives under the Dominion boot deserves better. You deserve freedom. You deserve to choose your own future. If you want that future, stand with us. We will not run. We will not hide. We will fight until we are free or until we are dead. She ended the transmission. For 3 days there was silence. Then the Vorathi came. Their ships were old and ugly, built for hauling rocks, not fighting wars. But there were 40 of them, and they were filled with people who had been slaves for 600 years. Their leader was a massive creature named Torvax. He had gray fur and scars covering his body. His eyes burned with a fire that 6 centuries of slavery had not been able to kill. We've waited a long time for someone to light this fire, Torvax told Elena when they met. The Dominion thinks we are broken. They think we have forgotten how to fight. They are wrong. We were just waiting for hope. Elena shook his massive hand. It felt like shaking hands with a bear. Welcome to the rebellion. The Free Worlds Coalition was born. Word spread faster than anyone expected. The aquatic Marani, who built Dominion ships in underwater factories, began sabotaging their own work. The Crystalline Collective Mysterious beings made of living rock sent secret messages offering information. Species that have been silent for thousands of years started to whisper about freedom. Grand Marshal Felix Thane watched all of this with cold fury. She was not like Admiral Zixthorian. She did not underestimate the humans. She understood exactly how dangerous hope could be. She went to the Dominion Council with a proposal. We cannot fight a rebellion that spreads like fire. We must end it at the source. We must destroy not just the human fleet, but the human homeworld. We must show the galaxy what happens to those who challenge us. The council hesitated. Using the planetary cleansers was extreme. Those weapons had not been fired in 2,000 years. If we do not act now, Felix Thane continued, the rebellion will only grow. Every day more species join the humans. Every day our control weakens. We must burn Earth to ash and scatter the ashes across the void. Only then will the galaxy remember why they fear us. The council agreed. On the same day, a Valorian spy within the coalition transmitted a message. It contained only one thing. The coordinates of Earth. Elena received a warning too late. A human agent within Dominion space reported that a massive fleet was assembling. 800 warships. The entire might of the Dominion military. Their target was the Sol System. Earth. Humanity's S homeworld had no idea what was coming. They did not know about the Dominion. They did not know about the war. They thought the Odyssey Dawn had been lost in space. They were not prepared. How long until the Dominion fleet reaches Earth? Elena asked. Marcus checked his calculations. His face was white. 8 weeks. Maybe less. And how long until we can reach Earth? At maximum speed, burning every engine until they melt. 6 weeks. Elena looked at her fleet. 52 ships. Against 800. Then we burn every engine, she said. We are going home. Behind her, the coalition fleet turned toward a distant point of light. Somewhere in that direction, beyond 30,000 light years of darkness, a small blue planet spun peacefully around its yellow sun. Its people did not know that the greatest battle in galactic history was coming to their doorstep. But they would learn soon enough. Earth received the warning on a Tuesday morning. Secretary General Amara Okonkwo was drinking her coffee when her assistant burst through the door. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. He held a data pad like it was a live snake. Ma'am, we have received a transmission. From the Odyssey Dawn, they are alive. Amara set down her coffee. The Odyssey Dawn had been declared lost 18 months ago. 23,000 adults and 17,000 children gone forever. That is wonderful news. Why do you look terrified? Because of what else the message says. Amara read the message 3 times. Each time, it seemed less real. An alien empire that ruled the galaxy. A war that humanity had accidentally started. A fleet of 800 warships coming to destroy Earth. She had 8 weeks to prepare. The nations of Earth had been fighting each other for centuries. They argued about borders, resources, religion, and politics. They could not agree on anything. But when Amara Okonkwo showed them the evidence, when they saw images of Valorian warships and heard recordings of Captain Vasquez explaining what was coming, all those arguments stopped. We have 2 choices, Amara told the assembled leaders. We can fight each other while the universe burns us to ash. Or we can stand together and give our children a chance to survive. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth made the same choice. Factories that had built cars started building weapons. Scientists who had studied medicine started studying alien technology. Farmers and teachers and office workers lined up to train for combat. Every shipyard on the planet worked 24 hours a day, building anything that could fly and fight. In 8 weeks, Earth assembled 23 warships. They were ugly, rushed, barely functional. Against the Dominion fleet, they would last minutes at most, but they were something. The Crystalline Collective, still officially neutral, sent a secret gift. Technical plans for the planetary cleansers. The weapons the Dominion planned to use against Earth. The plans included something wonderful, a flaw. The weapons could be overloaded. If hit with the right frequency of electromagnetic pulse at the right moment, they would explode. Building devices that could create that pulse took every scientist on Earth working together. They finished with 2 days to spare. Captain Elena Vasquez and the Coalition fleet arrived 3 days before the Dominion. 52 ships, battered and scarred from the long journey. Many of the crews wept when they saw Earth floating in space, a blue and green jewel against the darkness. For the colonists who had left on the Odyssey Dawn, it was a homecoming they never expected. For the Varathi and other alien species who had joined the rebellion, it was their first glimpse of the world that had started everything. "It is beautiful," Torvak said, standing beside Elena on the bridge. "I understand now why you fight so hard. Every species deserves a home worth fighting for," Elena replied. "After this, we will help you free yours. If there is an after," she thought, but did not say. The Dominion fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly on schedule. 800 warships. Enough firepower to crack planets. Grand Marshal Felixthane stood on her command bridge and looked at the pitiful force waiting for her. 75 ships. That was all the humans and their rebel allies had gathered. Against 800, Felixthane felt something close to disappointment. She had expected more of a challenge. "All ships, advance," she commanded. "Begin charging the planetary cleansers. I want Earth reduced to rubble before the day is over." The battle began. The Coalition fleet fought with everything they had. Human ships rammed Valorian cruisers. Varathi miners used their rock cutters as weapons, slicing through enemy hulls. The Marani who had joined the rebellion crashed their ships into Dominion weapons platforms, sacrificing themselves to take out bigger targets. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka led a squadron of boarding ships directly into the heart of the Dominion formation. Her target was the flagship, the massive vessel where Felixthane commanded the battle. "We are taking heavy fire," her pilot reported. "We will not survive the approach." "We do not need to survive," Yuki replied. "We just need to reach the reactor core." Her ship was hit 14 times. Crew members died around her. When they finally crashed into the flagship's hull, only Yuki and 3 others were still alive. They fought through corridors filled with Valorian soldiers. One by one, Yuki's team fell. By the time she reached the reactor room, she was alone. She opened a communication channel that every ship in the battle could hear. "This is Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka. I am inside the Dominion flagship. In 30 seconds, their reactor will overload. I want everyone to know something." She planted the explosive charges on the reactor housing. "We are not afraid to die. Are you?" The explosion ripped through the flagship. Grand Marshal Felixthane barely escaped in a life pod. Her command ship, the pride of the Dominion fleet, broke apart in a ball of fire. But even that sacrifice was not enough. The planetary cleansers were charging. In minutes, they would fire then Earth's orbital platforms, activated. They had been built in secret using the crystalline specifications. Massive electromagnetic pulse generators aimed directly at the Dominion weapons. When the cleansers tried to fire, the platforms hit them with everything they had. The overload was spectacular. 27 planetary cleansers exploded simultaneously. The chain reaction tore through the Dominion fleet. Ships that had been preparing to destroy Earth were vaporized by their own weapons. When the fire cleared, the Dominion had lost 400 ships. Their formation was broken. Their flagship was destroyed. Their secret weapons had turned against them. Grand Marshal Villichstein, floating in her life pod, watched the impossible happen. Her fleet, the greatest military force the galaxy had ever known, was being defeated by primitives. All ships retreat, she ordered. Fall back to Dominion space. But before she left, she sent one final message. You have won nothing. The full might of the Dominion will mobilize. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. Enjoy your brief victory, humans. It will be your last. On Earth, billions of people watched the alien fleet retreat. They cheered and cried and held each other. They had survived. Elena Vasquez did not celebrate. She stood on her bridge, looking at the broken ships floating in space. So many dead. Yuki was gone. Hundreds of others who had followed her into this impossible war would never see their families again. They had won the battle. But the war was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Seoul. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Yuki Tanaka. It was named for the woman who had died saving Earth, and it was the most powerful vessel in the Free World's coalition. Around it floated 3,000 ships from 27 different species. Elena's hair had turned gray at the temples. Lines marked her face that had not been there when she was just a colony ship captain. But her eyes were still sharp, still burning with the same fire that had refused to surrender on that first terrible day. The war had spread across 4 galactic arms. Every month, more species joined the coalition. Every month, the Dominion grew weaker. For 12,000 years, the Valorians had ruled through fear. Now that fear was crumbling. Kefvari, the Valorian communications officer they had captured so long ago, appeared on her view screen. He was no longer a prisoner. He had become one of their most important allies. Admiral, the resistance cells on Valoria Prime are ready, he said. We are broadcasting the truth across every channel. The common Valorians are starting to see what their government has done. Not everyone agrees with endless war. Elena nodded. And the fleet? The last Dominion armada is gathering above the homeworld. This will be their final stand. The coalition fleet moved forward. Their target was Valoria Prime, the heart of the Dominion, the world where everything had started 12,000 years ago. If they could take that world, the war would end. The journey took 3 weeks. When they arrived, they found the Dominion waiting. 500 warships hung in orbit around the purple and black planet. Behind them, massive orbital stations bristled with weapons. The Valorians had gathered everything they had left for one final battle. Grand Marshal Villichstein was still in command. She had survived the Battle of Seoul. She had survived 5 years of defeats and retreats. She would not survive another failure. All ships, attack formation, Elena commanded. Target the orbital stations first. We need to break their defensive line. The battle began. Ships clashed in the darkness above Valoria Prime. Explosions lit the void like new stars. Coalition fighters weaved between massive Dominion cruisers. Borathi boarding teams crashed into enemy ships and fought. Through their corridors, Elena watched the tactical display as her fleet pushed forward. They were winning. Slowly, painfully, ship by ship, they were winning. Then the unexpected happened. A signal came from the Valorian flagship. Not an attack order. Not a threat. A request for parley. Admiral, Marcus Chun said. He was still with her after all these years. Still her most trusted advisor. The Valorian matriarch wants to talk. The matriarch. Elena had heard stories about her. The immortal ruler of the Dominion, alive for 8,000 years. The architect of everything the Valorians had built and destroyed. No outsider had ever spoken to her directly. It could be a trap, Torvax warned. The old Varathi had become one of Elena's closest friends. Maybe, Elena agreed. But if there is a chance to end this without more death, I have to take it. She took a shuttle to the Valorian flagship alone. The matriarch's chamber was larger than a cathedral. The walls were covered with images of conquered worlds and defeated species. Trophies from 12,000 years of domination. The matriarch herself sat on a throne made of crystal. She was ancient. Her carapace faded to a dull gray. But her eyes still held a terrible intelligence. "You are smaller than I expected," the matriarch said. "For a creature that has destroyed my empire, I thought you would be larger." Elena stood before the throne. She was tired. She was scared. But she would not show it. "Your empire destroyed itself. We just reminded people that it was possible to fight back." The matriarch made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps, I have ruled for 8,000 years. I have seen species rise and fall like waves on a shore. And I have never seen anything like you." She leaned forward, studying Elena like a scientist studying an interesting insect. "You should have died. Every calculation said you would die. One ship against my entire dominion. It was impossible. And yet here you stand, in my throne room, with my fleet burning above my world. What do you want?" Elena asked. "I want to survive. My species wants to survive. We have calculated the odds. If this war continues, we might win. But even if we win, we will be broken. Our empire will collapse. Other species will tear us apart for revenge." The matriarch rose from her throne. For the first time, Elena saw how old she truly was. 8,000 years of rule had worn her down like water wearing down stone. "I offer you the Compact of Valoria. The Dominion will release all client species. We will keep our homeworld and our core systems, but we will rule no one. In exchange, the Coalition will guarantee our survival. No revenge. No genocide. A new beginning." Elena thought about all the species who had suffered under Valorian rule. The Varathi who had been slaves for 6 centuries. The Marani whose children had been taken as hostages. The countless worlds that had been burned and conquered. They deserved revenge. They had earned the right to destroy the Valorians completely. But Elena thought about something else too. She thought about what kind of galaxy she wanted to build. A galaxy built on revenge would just create new enemies, new wars, new suffering. "I accept," she said. The war ended not with fire, but with words. 1 year later, the Galactic Council met for the first time. 40 species gathered in a massive station built at the center of what had been Dominion space. Humans sat beside Valorians. Varathi debated with Marani. The Crystalline Collective finally came out of hiding. Elena Vasquez, now called the Liberator by some and the Peacemaker by others, watched from an observation deck. Below her, delegates argued about trade routes and resource sharing. It was messy and loud, and nobody agreed on anything. It was wonderful. Captain Marcus Chen, now Admiral Chun, joined her at the viewport. "Do you think it will last?" he asked. Elena watched a Valorian delegate reach out to shake hands with a Varathi representative. It was an awkward gesture. The Valorian had never done it before. But he was trying. "No," Elena said. "Nothing lasts forever. Someday this council will fall apart. Someday new wars will start. Someday everything we built will be forgotten." She smiled. The first real smile she'd allowed herself in years. "But we will build it anyway. We will keep building even when things fall apart. That is what humans do. That is what we have always done." She thought about the Odyssey Dawn, that little colony ship filled with farmers and teachers who just wanted to find a new home. They had found something else instead. A galaxy waiting to be awakened. Through the viewport, a new ship appeared. It was called the Unity, the first vessel built by humans and Valorians working together. It was ugly and strange and beautiful all at once. "Come on," Elena said. "We have work to do." She walked toward the future, and the galaxy followed.